Mario Kart 8 released in 2014. At the time of this recording, that was like 10 years ago. Now, I'm not exactly a gambling aficionado, nor am I any type of fish for that matter, but I would have to imagine that the next Mario Kart game is coming soon. After all, the previous record for years between mainline Mario Kart titles was the 5-year gap between Mario Kart 64 and the Game Boy Advance's Mario Kart Super Circuit. Nintendo seemingly hasn't been in a huge hurry to crank out a sequel, thanks in no small part to the obscene sales numbers generated by the company's second best-selling video game. It's this huge performance that the sequel, whenever it happens, will be compared against. Because undoubtedly, with Nintendo being Nintendo, their goals are even higher than fan expectations, and they're assuredly planning something significant to help differentiate the next lap of the Mario Kart franchise. So, what could it be? A common possibility I've heard is transitioning the series more and more into a Nintendo Kart. The current roster and slate of courses are no longer Mario-specific anyway, so I suppose expanding on this would be a very natural evolution. Frankly, I'm willing to go so far as to call this likely. That being said, I don't consider this to be the major shakeup that will differentiate the next installation. So, what about the return of the duo race? Double Dash for the GameCube first brought us the ability to throw caution to the wind and ignore all conventional vehicular safety sense, but the gimmick didn't last long. Personally, I enjoyed the variability it offered, and it's a fun game for what it is, but it's still just a gimmick. I don't think that this is where Nintendo will go, but could they go elsewhere? To be honest with you, I'm not a huge kart dude, so I struggle to think of other viable vehicular gimmicks. Maybe pit crews could be a fourth option in the vehicle selection screen, and their implementation could allow for an additional set of variables and things to consider when prepping for a race. Using extra fast yet thin tires? Go with the Toad pit crew. They apply a buff to tire durability. Racing a big, chunky boy with terrible acceleration? Try the Magikoopa pit crew with their acceleration buff. But watch out, they're the slowest at tire replacements. I think this is a little far-fetched, to be honest. But Nintendo's gone to weirder places. That said, I believe that Nintendo will go where they have gone with most of their franchises. While Mario Kart is and always has been synonymous with multiplayer gameplay, it never had a respectable single-player campaign. Yes, you can sit in silence and embarrass a few CPUs, sure, whatever, but that's not the same. What I'm talking about here is a veritable story mode. Imagine this for a moment. You begin as Mario or Peach or whoever, and you're faced with some calamitous evil. Some new vehicular-based villain is here to guzzle all the gasoline or has done something that our street racing heroes deem unsavory. You set out on a quest to defeat this foe, with the journey segmented into themed worlds with tracks to match, inside of which the player races lackeys and eventually larger boss competitors, not only in a standard Mario Kart style, but slightly more offensive? Think if Mario Kart and Mad Max had a baby, but Mario Kart had custody, and Mad Max got every other weekend. But Mad Max went to prison for a few years, and Mario Kart started dating Death Race or something? You get what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm no game designer, but I think that a truly fulfilling single-player mode is something that Mario Kart games have lacked. Maybe it's just the RPG fan in me, but there's really something missing from the solo experience that I think could be partially solved with an experience point system, a story, or some other sense of accomplishment beyond this. Of course, by calling for such a deviation from the norm, I am by no means advocating for the elimination of standard kart as we know it, only an expansion, a supplementation. Because as it stands now, Mario Kart isn't quite the same if you don't have friends to play with or the ability to play online. And some people even prefer a solo gaming experience. I think that Mario Kart 8 did a lot of things really well, which goes without saying. It's objectively one of the best games ever made, and the craziest thing it did was swell up with tracks like a desperate cell. So with the franchise's popularity as high as it's ever been before, Mario Kart doesn't need a single-player campaign. But I'd absolutely play it. Wouldn't you?